I'm making movies at Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 103 Earthlings, come out to meet your goddess. Tony took a step back, probably because he saw that he was not easy to mess with, so he planned to smooth things over. But in the middle of talking, he forgot the name of the person opposite, so he turned his head and asked Levi, Thor. Oh, this Mr. Thor, although I don't know what you are here for, but the road is innocent. Have you eaten yet? We are just getting started. You can add a pair of chopsticks. Son, after staying with Levi for a long time, Tony has fully learned what it means to add a pair of chopsticks. More importantly, this is not his home, but Levi home, and the food is also Levi home. Regarding the generosity of others, Tony said that it's so easy. Ignoring Levi's contemptuous gaze, Tony welcomed Thor into the room with a warm and hospitable face, and soon everyone sat together in a very harmonious manner. Cough. Jenna, serve this Mr. Thor a big 14 bowl. By the way, Master Liu brewed King Deo puree a few days ago. Serve this one some point. Although brewing wine is not the job of a chef, it is not surprising that a Chinese chef who is proficient in everything knows everything. Anyway, there is room and space, and Levi, who has expanded the venue again, let them do it freely, and it is okay to entertain guests occasionally. No, it came in handy. Huge amounts of beer glasses and a whole oak barrel of wine were brought over and delivered to Thor's feet. Others continued to eat and drink, and Thor was very familiar with himself, drinking by himself, and occasionally chatting with Tony in the others' 2 sentences, and soon became familiar. Wow, so, you're from Asgard, you've traveled through time and space, and you're here to find him in a movie? Tony looked like I see you bragging. Although the movement just now was a bit loud, but such things as myths, Tony still believes that they will only appear in movies. Yes, I did a wrong thing and damaged Asgard's reputation. In order to make up for all this, and to make Odin look up to me, I want to spread Asgard's reputation far and wide through the film. Thor held his glass high and drank it in one gulp. Haha, this kind of wine is good. It's delicious. I never imagined that Midgard still has some good things. And seeing Thor eating and drinking wildly there, Levi also understood his purpose. A wrong thing. A stupid thing, I'm afraid. Levi stroked his smooth chin. For him, making a movie is not a problem, and making a movie about Asgard is no problem. If it doesn't work, just move the original Marvel's Thor Ragnarok part over and it's over. It's not a problem to predict their future. They themselves play prophecy and foretelling their everyday. When Asgard was just born, the 3 goddesses of fate had already predicted the end of Asgard, that is, Ragnarok. So making a movie is not a problem. It's just that I seem to be a bit of an influence. Even the people of Asgard have seen my movies. Thinking of this question, Levi's first reaction was a loss. He lost a lot of money at the box office. His own movie was pirated, but he didn't get a penny at the box office. He lost a lot of money. By the way, can my movie theater be opened in Asgard? If so, wouldn't it be another big market for me? There are only so many people on the earth. Even if everyone goes to watch the movie, the box office will only be so much, and that is obviously impossible. After all, watching movies is an entertainment consumption activity. Those who can go to the movies must be people with sufficient living standards. If they can't eat enough, how can they watch movies? And this deletes nearly half of the population. In Africa, Latin America, South Asia, and the Middle East, except for the petrostates, the people of these countries are basically on the line of food and clothing. They may do things like watching movies, but it is impossible to go to the cinema. Also look online for pirated copies, or rent some pirated discs and the like. But Asgard is different. That is a higher level civilization, whether it is the alien civilization in the movie universe, or the higher dimensional civilization in the comics. It is more developed than the Earth. There is no doubt about it. Then, for them, watching the movie 753 is not difficult, and it is not even impossible for the whole people to see it. If Levi really helped Thor make a movie, it would not be impossible for him, the prince, to promote it and allow him to open a movie theater. So, From the doubts at the beginning, to the doubts later, and now, Levi's eyes on Thor are already shining brightly, as if he is looking at a big vault. Pat pat, shoot immediately, Matt, I will start writing the script tonight. Thinking of a trick, Levi immediately decided to rush to write the script overnight. In fact, this is not difficult. After all, whether it is the myths and legends of this world, or the myths and legends of another world in various fan works, there is nothing about Thor. That being the case, he only needs to use local materials, and then adapt them. It's just that Thor didn't come alone, and his arrival meant that trouble was coming. Earthlings, come out and meet your goddess. Chapter 104. Descending from the sky, the domineering goddess. Everyone's eyes turned to Thor. What's amazing is that after just eating a meal, the bruises and redness on this guy's face have already begun to disappear. This made Tony, the captain, and others think that this person was extraordinary. Definitely, they didn't really think that this person was a god. Facing the eyes of everyone, Thor was unconscious, drinking happily, and his reaction seemed a little slow. It wasn't until the voice sounded for the second time that he trembled all over. Not good. Why not? Levi looked at Thor, who jumped up. Is this Thor from Asgard? Why is it like a mouse meeting a cat? It's that guy. Which guy is it? Everyone looked at Thor, only to see him scratching his head, hesitation for a long time, and finally looking at Levi. Do you have a back door in your house? He's about to slip away. That woman. He doesn't want to see that woman confused for the second time in his life. He thinks he's actually pretty smart, but occasionally he gets. But the point is, it's important to lose face in front of a woman. It was an intolerable fault for him. Back door. Levi looked over his shoulder. There's a cliff behind my house. Levi said seriously. There is indeed a cliff behind his house. To be precise, it is a sea cliff, and the bedrooms are basically full of Jingshan windows. When the floor-to-ceiling windows are opened, the sea is below, so there seems to be no such thing as a back door. But at this moment, a powerful force struck through the air, and the expressions of Levi and Thor changed suddenly. Thor roared directly, and thunderbolts emerged from the void. The rotten armor is like a one-click change, switching to a new set of shiny armor, and Levi is even more exaggerated. Light, endless rays of light emerge, and in an instant, the whole living room seems to have an extra round of sun, shining on the world point, and the endless light is his armor, his spear. Give me back. Quote. Levi shouted angrily. Thor still knew how to be polite, and knocked on the door in an orderly manner. When they went out, this guy would be fine. Even if he forced his way into the private mansion, he dared to shoot directly. The golden light converged into a sharp sword, and it slashed directly towards the void in front of him. Levi was determined to teach the guy who broken a lesson, so he was very powerful. Thor looked at each other sideways, looking at Levi with strange eyes. He who was going to protect these mortals didn't have a chance. However, in the light, there was a sweet and clear female voice. It was the person who called the door just now, but now it seems that it should be a goddess. Clang, when the lightsaber collided with some kind of weapon. Levi's complexion changed. He was in the crowd at the moment, surrounded by mortals, but he ignored it. The shockwave generated by this attack is very likely to make them unable to bear it and suffer minor injuries, but the expected impact didn't happen, and a shield flew out, turning into a light curtain in mid-air. Guard. The huge shockwave directly disappeared in invisible, and the power that could destroy this mansion with only the aftermath was blocked. Waving his hand to disperse the light, Levi looked at the visitor in front of him with a cloudy complexion, and when he finally saw clearly, he couldn't help being stunned. Although he knew that the visitor was a goddess, Levi thought it was a Valkyrie from Asgard. After all, it had nothing to do with Thor's arrival. As for Valkyrie, although I don't know the overall level of appearance of Valkyrie, judging from the rough style of Norse mythology, even if she is a beautiful woman, it should be the heroic and extraordinary image of the Amazons in the Wonder Woman movie. But the goddess in front of me, how should I put it, is cute. Hey, who are you? If it was a tall and thick goddess, Levi felt that he could still do it with his eyes closed, but seeing such a face, even with his eyes closed, her image would probably be difficult to erase. So Levi simply chose to calm down. Unexpectedly, this lovely girl did not answer his question, but looked at him with a little doubt. Apollo. No, that kind of light is not pure light, but also the breath of the sun. Helios is the Orthodox Greek sun god, and Apollo was originally the god of light and art, but in the course of thousands of years, Helios was replaced. Moreover, as the sun god, Helios does not even have the position of the 12 main gods, so one can imagine his status. It doesn't seem right. Helios is too weak. He doesn't even deserve the name of the sun, and Apollo doesn't have your courage and guts. Dare to attack me. The girl looked to the side while talking. A group of weak mortals, a powerful witch, a stranger, a favorite of wisdom, and two powerful warriors. The girl's eyes swept over the servants first, and then fell on Wanda, Sky, Tony, the captain, and Bucky in turn. Finally, she looked at Natasha Romanoff. Brave, fearless, full of wisdom, unwavering in your choice, and willing to give your life to fight. You are a qualified hero, king. I praise you. Although I don't know who the girl in front of me is, but everyone heard her comments. They are basically positive, so they are quite happy. But when it comes to Natasha Romanoff, this longest comment and the highest praise, everyone can't help but some surprised county. Because to be honest, Natasha Romanoff is actually the weakest of all the people here. Sky has been activated with alien blood and has vibe ability, while Tony has armor, Wanda needless to say, and the captain and Bucky are both super soldiers, and their strength is far above Natasha Romanoff. However, the girl praised Natasha Romanoff, but only a few words for the others, which somewhat surprised them. However, when the girl's eyes fell on Thor, the atmosphere changed. Chapter 105 Athena, Goddess of Wisdom. Ah, you idiot of Asgard, I thought Odin had already killed you. Oh, I almost forgot. You are already the last prince of Asgard. If you kill you, Odin may have no successor. Well, shut up, Athena, you are so weak. Thor held his hammer high, and due to some accidents, the handle of the hammer was too short when Dwarf cast Mjolnir, so it looked a bit awkward. However, this does not affect its power at all. The bellowing thunder condensed on the hammer. Thor jumped up. The flames of anger burned his sanity. He desperately needed to vent and fight. Ah, damn it. Levi scratched his head. For this girl, no, I have a new understanding of Athena's poisonous tongue. Thor's bad mind has already been determined by him. Maybe it's because you don't have enough time to use your brain. After all, you can solve everything with strength, so why use your brain? However, being so excited by a few words, the brain must be broken. But, this is his home. You two gods want to fight. Can you change the place? Didn't you see the big guys eating? Levi made a dodge and quickly moved in front of Athena. He was afraid that this guy would also go crazy, and when the two forces collided head on, he would definitely be unable to stop it. So he took the first step and stood in front of Athena. Thor had an artifact in his hand, and he couldn't make it hard, but he didn't need it. Clang. A small shield was held by Levi in front of him. Thor struck angrily, and Mjolnir, carrying the hammer of rolling thunder, landed on the shield, but nothing seemed to happen generally. Powerful power condenses on the shield, and then gathers into a shockwave, trying to spread towards the surroundings. Guard! Athena shouted with a smile. The shield she held turned into an invisible barrier, covering the entire room, and the shockwave spreading from the shield, Bebek, in Levi's hand exploded instantly, as if to cut everything apart, but when it touched Athena's protective barrier at that time, it quickly melted and dispersed. Back to you. Levi shook his hand, then threw the shield to the captain. Hey, my shield. The captain took it casually, turned his head, and glanced under his seat, only to realize that at some point, his shield was taken away by Levi. Stop hitting, and you, stop mocking him, or you too, get out of here. Levi nodded emphatically at Athena. This guy has been laughing and laughing since Thor's violence just now. Under Levi's suppression, the two troublemakers finally stopped. Ah, so cute. In the living room with huge amounts of people sitting together, Natasha Romanoff is busy at the bar. She likes bartending very much. She once thought that when she retires from her agent career, she might become a bartender. However, it seems to be an actor now. The captain and Bucky, good friends who haven't seen each other for many years, are getting together, chatting about the past and the future. They both woke up not long ago, although Bucky seemed to wake up from the freeze for a long time, but since his memory was wiped, it really counted. Until a few months ago, Levi recovered his memory and removed Hydra after being affected. He can be regarded as recovering himself. As for Thor and Tony, the two are gathering to drink together, but what Thor drinks is all kinds of beer. King Dao puree brewed by the master of the Chinese dynasty, and various day dark beers brought by the French chef. And Tony is drinking various cocktails made by Natasha Romanoff. However, no matter what they are doing, their eyes are always aimed at Levi from time to time, point to be precise, looking at Athena surrounded by Sky and Wanda. Ah, you really Athena, that Athena. If we said that everyone still had doubts when Thor came before, then now, everyone has believed more than half of their god status, mainly the way they played and the strength they showed. By the way, they also have more awareness of Levi power. Yes, I'm one of the 12 main gods of Olympus, the goddess of wisdom and war, Pallas Athena. Wow, Athena. Sky and Wanda looked at Athena with staring eyes, a look of admiration. And Athena also enjoyed this kind of gaze calmly, with her head held high, revealing her slender neck, but Levi's attention was clearly shifted. Well, it seems that I need to add a little more, but it seems a bit too much to give a C, and the armor seems a bit thick. Forget it, give it a B+. Enjoying the compliments from a group of beauties made Athena very happy, because on Mount Olympus, no one would look at her with such eyes. The goddesses of Mount Olympus are a group of bitches, headed by Hera. They are always intriguing, coquettish, seduce this man, or seduce that man. Point to be honest, Athena prefers to fight with spears and shields. Winning Athens from Poseidon was the most commendable achievement in her life. Point the legend of the olive branch and the war horse is completely nonsense. She won by relying on her own strength. Point. But, obviously, since then, no one wants to play with her anymore. The goddesses think she is rude, and the gods, well, she despises them for being stupid. Point like as Chapter 106. I wanted to stab him to death a long time ago, and I became a god king myself. And the time in the heaven is very boring, so when Thor came over, Athena simply played with him. A few words of provocation, a bet, and then a little aggressive method. She saw a fool who ran to the country of giants of Jotunheim, and was beaten into a pig's head. Well, this is one of the few laughing moments she has. But unexpectedly, from Thor's mouth, she heard something about the earth. About a certain movie story that described Ares as a brave and scheming villain, but was hanged and beaten. Point moreover, isn't that woman named Diana created based on Athena, who is both beautiful and intelligent, except that the spear in her hand has turned into a sword, and, to be honest, she is the #1 goddess of Olympus. Okay, Artemis is not her opponent. That guy can only bully small animals, that's all. Life in the god realm was too boring, and Athena couldn't bear it when she heard such interesting things in the world. However, she didn't know the specific situation in the mortal world, so she let Hermes watch Asgard all the time, and only after seeing Bifrost did she secretly follow her. So, you, like that guy, came to make a movie? After listening for a long time, Levi finally understood the ins and outs of everything. After he pointed to Thor, he also thought of hesitation. Point Athena. This is a very common character, but is there one in live action movies? The main reason is that no one can show her temperament. The role of Diana is indeed based on her. This is undeniable, but Diana is different. For example, Athena is one of the 3 famous virgin goddesses of Olympus together with Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and the moon, and Hestia, the goddess of the hearth and fire. To be precise, she hates men, and this limits. It is difficult to perform some scenes in the movie. Point you can't expect a movie to have no romantic scenes. Even if it's a doomsday movie or a war movie, there must be such a thing. Just like the emotional line between Steve Trevor and Diana in Wonder Woman, even if it is very far-fetched, it has to be forced to happen. Virgin? Hate men? Athena frowned, facing Levi inquiry. She had a rare difficulty. Have I ever had one? If we talk about those men on Mount Olympus, I really hate them. They are all stupid and dirty. Even that fellow Apollo has an indistinct relationship with countless goddesses. Unclear relationship. HMPH. A scumbag should be stabbed to death. Athena gritted her teeth bitterly. A certain culture of the Greek gods is famous. not to mention brothers and sisters. There are scenes of father and daughter, mother and child. Moreover, the male gods headed by Zeus are even more a group of broadcasting machines. Therefore, in such an environment, the gods born will either go with them and join their chaos, or they will develop a heart of disgust and guard themselves like jade ever since. And Athena, obviously the latter. Scumbags, you should all die. Do you know how many brothers and sisters I have? Zeus is weak. If it weren't for the fact that his mother is still in his head, I would stab him to death first. God King. Thor on the side, took a sip of wine, and then apologized to Tony with a flushed face. Sorry. Ahem. What do you look at? You're an idiot. So Thor isn't a good guy. He's either simple-minded and well-developed, or he's in heat all day long. He's a big fool. No, men aren't good guys. Seeking flowers. Point Zero Sky and Wanda looked at each other, then looked at Levi together, with a kind of smile in their eyes. Cough. Although I want to refute your words, but I have to say, it seems that there is no need to refute this sentence. Oh, by the way, there is a saying on our earth that men are big pigs. Next time you can use this sentence to describe. At this time, Levi actually thought of what movie to prepare for Athena. It's not a movie, it's just a cartoon. One long series of cartoons. There is no way this should be the most famous, popular and most closely related to Athena. Saint Seiya series. Moreover, this is also in line with Athena's temperament, isn't it? Specially beat up those male gods. It is mainly an idea, the plot or something. Just modify it. It is not difficult. It's just that, in this way, wouldn't there be 2 more tenants in his house? Let's not talk about this guy Thor. Athena, although she is a beautiful girl, she looks very seductive, but Levi feels that, after staying with her for a long time, the women at home are easily attracted by her extreme behavior. The thinking is distorted. Or, take her back. Levi suddenly had an idea, so he turned his attention to Natasha Romanoff. Naturally, only Natasha Romanoff, an old driver, can perform this task. Moreover, Athena has a good impression of Natasha Romanoff. The 1000-year-old iron tree is blooming. Is Zeus eager to kill me, or is he ecstatic to celebrate that his daughter is finally married? Chapter 107 Zeus, I really have a fucking headache. Levi thinks that Zeus's feeling should be the latter, and based on Athena's idea of stabbing his father to death with the spear in his hand, it probably gives him a headache at ordinary times. Oh, I almost forgot that the birth of Athena seemed to pop out of Zeus's head. At that time, because of a certain prophecy, Zeus was afraid that Athena's younger brother would be born, so he swallowed their mother into his stomach to protect him. As a result, one day, he suffered from a splitting headache, and Apollo, the god of medicine, saw that it didn't improve. In desperation, he had to ask Prometheus, the god of fire, to split his head open. As a result, just as the head was split open, there were thousands of golden lights, war horses neighing, flowers flying in the sky, and strange fragrances wafting around. Ahem. Anyway, Athena was born like this. Therefore, she should be born to give Zeus a headache. After all, the way of appearance is such a headache. What will you do? Thor's movie, that is, the Thor Ragnarok part is finished. Basically, this one does not need to be revised too much. The trajectory of this world may not follow that way, but even if it is that way, it is okay to shoot it in advance. After all, Thor has already seen the future. Odin had already seen it too. Ancient One also watched it. Therefore, predicting and prophesying is not a problem in this world. As for Athena, Levi is not familiar with it. The only Greek gods that have appeared in the Marvel world or Marvel works are Ares and Hercules. Athena and others did not appear on stage. Even if there were, they were only used as background boards. So Levi doesn't know much about her. Now, it's just learning more. I will fight, Athena said to Levi. Wanda, who was peeling an apple for Levi, almost cut his hand. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. You seem to have the priesthood of war too. Armed girls or something. This is indeed Athena's setting. Many priesthoods of Greek gods overlap, or have overlapping parts. For example, Apollo's priesthood of light and Helios' solar priesthood, such as Athena and Ares are both gods of war. However, Ares is the god of violence and war, and is in charge of negative war priesthoods such as brutality and bloodthirsty. And Athena, She is the god of peace and war. Her most famous story is that she once gave the people of Athens an olive branch representing peace, thus becoming the patron saint of Athens. However, what Levi needs is not just a violent girl who can play with knives and guns. Just leave it to Thor, who has a thick skin and loves it. Well, then I can sing. I can also draw. Oh, and sculpture. I'm also the god of art. Apollo created musical instruments, but I created singing. Levi is skeptical that she created singing, but Athena says she can sing, and that's a good thing. How about packaging a national idol? Athena Asamia, a star who lives in film, television, and music, but her box office appeal is even higher than that of a simple movie star. There are only so many people in this world who like to watch movies, but there is almost no one who doesn't like to listen to music. The base of music fans has always been larger than that of movie fans. It seems good if we can attract a large number of fans to watch movies. However, this still needs to be verified. Since you said you can sing, let me teach you a song and see if you can sing. To create a national idol singer, it is natural that pop music has this ability. Athena sings 2 songs from thousands of years ago. No matter how beautiful they are, they can't attract young people. Ahem. Listen to me sing. Although Levi did not exchange for Apollo's artistic priesthood, his strengthened body is naturally impossible to be tone deaf. And among the knowledge he has acquired, there are knowledge of music theory and various pieces of music. Point after all, there is a big category of musicals in the movie category. Isn't the famous La La Land just a musical? Point peel off, coconut skin. Levi sang Sugar, a well-known song by a well-known pop group. Point Magic Red, also known as Maroon 5, is actually called Maroon 5. There is no such combination in this world, so this song can be said to be Levi's original creation in this world, and this song was once popular all over the world, and it can be said that it is a song familiar to people whose main language is English. Point it's natural to listen well, mainly because its rhythm is more cheerful. After all, Levi is just to test Athena's musicality and acceptance ability for popular songs. It is obviously inappropriate to make something that is too heavy or too funny. Wow, it's very nice. Levi, you can still sing. I've never heard you sing before, and I don't think I've heard this song anywhere else. You wrote it yourself? He nodded very familiarly. As a glorious porter, Levi doesn't feel ashamed. It's the author who is ashamed. In fact, not only Sky thinks it sounds good, but the rest of the children think it's good. Levi's selection of songs is also very good. This is a love song, and it is still a very sweet love song. As soon as this song came out, it immediately became a frequent visitor to many wedding venues. Even when the song MV was filmed at the end, the Maleo Wu group went to shoot various wedding venues, sending blessings along the way, feeling the joy of the couple, and then chatting with each other. Meal. Okay, Athena, have you learned it? Do you want to try to sing a few lines? Chapter 109 Athena, it's son dear. Athena was a little surprised by Levi's explanation, because this kind of thinking didn't seem to exist in the hearts of the Greeks. War never disassociates itself from women, and Levi seems to want to keep his woman away from the war because he feels that his arms are strong enough to protect his woman. This is somewhat different from her father and brothers. Athena looked around. Not only Sky and Wanda, but even Natasha Romanoff looked at Levi with a look of fascination, expressing determination there, and the eyes were full of joy. Humph, seeing the appearance of the girls, Athena's original acknowledgement immediately disappeared. It sounds nice, but in fact, this is just to satisfy your male chauvinism. Women don't need the protection of men. Women can protect themselves. If they are protected by men, they will inevitably be enslaved by men. Athena has sharp eyes. As a goddess, and a goddess in a cave in her life, she still has a very deep understanding of the relationship between men and women. But what if this relationship is love? Protecting your lover, but also turning them into slaves. Did Levi think about turning Natasha Romanoff and others into slaves? What is the difference between playing with a body without emotion and masturbating yourself? It's just rhetoric. In the world of men, women are only your property. What you think of as love. Why can't men be attached to women? After all, you still want to control everything. Zeus wants to control the world. as those who want to control the battlefield are all egomaniacs and narcissists, including you. Athena held her head high, revealing her swan-like slender neck, but at the moment Levi didn't have the idea of taking advantage, just looked at her quietly, and then smiled coldly. Tell me, what do you want to do? I think you didn't call me here early in the morning to reprimand me. Levi's eyes flicked to Natasha Romanoff, who gave him a meaningful look, pointing you that this little elf must be behind the scenes. She probably gave Athena some bad idea, or maybe it was her bad idea for himself. You are very smart. Seeing Levi's rapid change of mood, Athena didn't hide it anymore. After a chuckle, her exquisite face, like the person in the painting, instantly became serious. Then, a golden armor appeared outside her exquisite body. A crown of olive branches symbolizing the power of war is worn on her head. Fight, man. Show me by fighting that you are qualified to protect them. Levi glanced at Natasha Romanoff. It really is a bad idea. To be honest, he couldn't beat Athena. The divine power he exchanged was a reduced version. The original Apollo's divine power required 2 billion, but he only spent 1.5 billion. Definitely, the relationship between combat power and divine power is actually not that big, otherwise how could Diana win heirs? But this is a foundation, and the gap between the secondary gods and the main gods is not so easy to bridge. Point an individual case cannot be treated as a normal state point. Moreover, this also scores people. Diana is cheating, and Athena is also cheating. Point Athena's fighting power is second only to Zeus among the 12 main gods. That's right. She is second only to the god King Zeus, not to mention defeating heirs head on and defeating Poseidon. This kind of record of defeating a god of the same level is not something everyone has. In other words, even if Levi exchanged the 2 billion version of Apollo's divine power, he might not be able to beat Athena, at least 3 billion, asking for flowers. But the problem is that fighting is not only about divine power, but also about artifacts. Athena was born with a suit, just like Nessa. If Levi wants an artifact, he still has to exchange it. That's why he thought it was a bad idea. However, a bad idea is an idea, at least, given a chance, right? Levi rolled his eyes, then looked at Athena. First, I don't like beating women. Second, competing for divine power is not a good way to fight, and the result is likely to get out of control. I don't want the United States government to drop a nuclear bomb on my head tomorrow, just because we two individuals sparing zero. Athena frowned slightly. There was nothing wrong with what Levi said. Although she hadn't been here for a long time, within one night, she had already learned about the things on Earth. She is the goddess of wisdom. She naturally knows that the current Earth government has extremely powerful force. Even if nuclear bombs are not mentioned, even the rest of the artillery are powerful. Therefore, once they fight fiercely and cause relatively large damage, it is not impossible for them to remember them and find them. It's just that, looking at Levi, she always felt that this guy had some kind of conspiracy. Then, tell me, how do we compete? I will accompany you all to the end. Although, she felt that something was wrong. Athena's pride, its sundeer, naturally did not allow her to retreat. Not to mention, as the goddess of wisdom and war, listening to this name, she is proficient in everything. Okay. What are you afraid of? Okay, since you strong demand, how about this? We don't use divine power, but use mortal bodies to fight. How about the most basic martial arts? Chapter 110. Love is Athena. 4 more. Levi smiled happily. He is definitely happy, because he has too much confidence in this kind of competition. Goddess of war doesn't mean she is the goddess of battle. HMPH, whatever you want, no matter what, I will defeat you, and then you will understand how weak and incompetent you are, and they will also see clearly that you have no ability to protect them at all. Levi doesn't care about the proud girl's declaration. Not to mention, it is impossible for him to lose, and secondly, even if he loses, he doesn't think that Wanda and the others will leave him because of this. The girl in front of her still knows too little about feelings. The spear in his hand and the armor on his body slowly disappeared in a burst of golden light. 790. Athena assumed her previous attire, and Levi naturally didn't need to change his attire. He was already in casual attire. Come on, Athena, Sky chanted, cheering for Athena happily with Wanda. Cry. That scumbag, come on. Seeing the enthusiastic support of the sisters, Athena's momentum suddenly became stronger. Although she wanted to restrain her power, she didn't think she would fail. She is the goddess of war. How could she lose in a fight? Drink, without using divine power. The two just confronted each other with stronger bodies than ordinary people, but this does not mean that the scene is small point. In fact, even without the use of divine power, the physical strength of the two of them far exceeds that of super soldiers like the Captain and Bucky. Therefore, it is natural for a punch and a kick to be terrifyingly powerful. Athena yelled coquettishly, and her toes stepped on a deep hole on the beach. In an instant, the grains of sand flew together, and she, like a vigorous lioness, pounds towards Levi. Boom. Arms intersected. Levi crossed his hands, blocking Athena's fist, and then twisted his waist to the right to grab it like a claw. Oh, faced with Levi counterattack, Athena was very disdainful. She continued to move forward. Her petite body was like a spear. She kept rushing forward, attacking constantly with fists and feet. Levi's counterattack was interrupted by her, and her figure fell into a difficult situation on the defensive. Oh, my husband won't really want to lose. Sky covered his mouth and said in surprise. Their previous cheering was purely for booing. At this moment, seeing that Levi was at a disadvantage, they couldn't help worrying. Don't worry, he is not so useless. Natasha Romanoff shook her head, still smiling. In fact, she is not as untrained as Athena thinks. In fact, Levi has trained her a lot, but the progress is not as exaggerated as imagined. Therefore, she is well aware of Levi's strength. Especially, as the world's top agent, she has fought countless life and death, and she can see Levi's strength in certain aspects more clearly than Sky and Wan fans. Simple, direct, fast, accurate, and ruthless. Very suitable for the fighting style on the battlefield. The simplest nirvana, the most effective offensive method, and the most labor-saving force technique. I have to say that in terms of fighting ability alone, you are already the best in the world. Athena's attack is like a storm. She is the god of war. She is also the god of the sea. Her fighting style is like the waves on the sea. Wave after wave. Never stop. However, Levi, who seemed flustered, suddenly spoke. In this tide-like offensive, he still had the leisure to speak. Athena was startled, and it was hard for her not to be surprised. Her fighting skills are number one in the entire Mount Olympus. Even her father, God King Zeus, cannot compare. Zeus is powerful in his divine power. As the Lord of the Sky, the King of Gods, the Lord of Thunder, and the Maker of Order, Zeus is far stronger than other gods. However, when it comes to fighting ability, Zeus is really inferior to his daughter, who can defeat Ares many times, defeat Poseidon and other powerful gods. This is the first time Athena has encountered such a situation. The first time she has met someone who can persevere under her offensive and still have the energy to speak, and this made her impatient, made her speed up the rhythm, and made her attack more swift and fierce. So there was such a scene on the beach. A girl's fists and feet were as fierce as a sword, and she frantically attacked a man with every move. While the man was fighting and retreating, his hands and feet seemed to be closed, and the roots would not fall down. His hands are like portals, blocking all attacks outside. This is the difference between a small place and a big place, Levi murmured secretly. As the god of war, Athena is very strong. There is no doubt about it. But fighting skills, which have been accumulated over the years, are part of wisdom experience. How can a mere Olympus compare with the whole world? How big is Athens? It's just a castle. How big is Greece? Even counting all the coastal areas around the Mediterranean Sea, the area is not as large as a province of the Celestial Dynasty. Let's talk about population. I'm sorry, but I am only talking about the East. Before the modern industrial revolution, that is, before the guns and artillery dominated the battlefield, the East was undoubtedly crushing the West. A defeated dog who is driven out of the struggle for hegemony in the East can be called the whip of God by Westerners. It can be imagined that in terms of combat and the art of war, the era of cold weapons completely belongs to the Eastern 4.4 people. As far as the many battles advocated by Western civilization are concerned, the vast majority, in fact, in a certain country in the East can only be regarded as fighting between villages. During the Ming Dynasty, in order to compete for land and irrigation water, Two villages in Zhejiang province once set off a battle of thousands of people. And this can already be called a national war in the West. The era after the popularity of muskets was nothing more than that. But in the era of cold weapons, Levi couldn't think of where Greece's advantage lay when it was a competition of fists, feet, and weapons. The 300 warriors of Sparta. How does it compare to Weliwuzu, Macedonian side? How is it compared to my great kin warrior? Chapter 111 The Goddesses for Education. There is often a point of view in the history circles. Alexander's Eastern expedition. Westerners felt that if they did not go the wrong way and crashed in, they would sweep East Asia. However, the Easterners said, thanks to the fact that you went the wrong way, otherwise you would probably lose your mind if you encountered Dakin, who had just completed Shang Yang's reform, and then let that lunatic Ying Heng know that there is still a lot of land outside. I went to farm all over the world. Just the martial arts of the Celestial Dynasty. Levi is already confident enough to beat Athena. In fact, he is more than that. What he got is knowledge about martial arts all over the world, and he usually practiced against Natasha Romanoff, or taught her. These things have long been mastered by him. Open. With a shout, Levi's arm was directly inserted into Athena's torrential attack like a blade, and then he split his palms to break her attack directly from it. 14. Come here. Levi clasped his hands directly, grabbed Athena's thin fragrant shoulders, and then pulled hard. Athena, who was blocked by Levi's sudden burst of attack, hadn't reacted for a while, and was suddenly caught. Her face was even more complex. Big change. Let me go. Athena wanted to struggle, but, being proficient in battle formations, and accustomed to head-on collisions, he might not understand that, after losing his armor, many parts of the human body would become extraordinarily fragile. And once it is restrained, it is almost equivalent to losing combat effectiveness. For example, shoulder well. Levi's hands were clasped on Athena's shoulders in the shape of claws. Pressing down with his fingers, the physical stimulation alone made Athena's shoulders sore and weak, unable to lift them up. The girl god's effort to resist, in the end, turned into a caress like a lover acting like a baby, which made Athena a little panicked, and she suddenly realized that she seemed a little overconfident. However, her own pride made Athena unwilling to bow her head and admit defeat. Even if her vitals were caught, the postures of the two were very ambiguous. Hiss. Levi breathed a sigh of relief, and didn't come up. This girl, in desperation, actually used the most vicious and insidious trick in the Jianghu, cutting off her children and grandchildren. If this kick hits the target, he will not be allowed to enter the palace, to be with the emperor. Fortunately, the moment his scalp tingled, he had an idea, and blocked this move. It was so dangerous, so dangerous. Seeing this scene, the three girls next to her jumped up in fright, almost rushing to pull Athena away. There is no way. The three big girls who are as beautiful as flowers are almost going to be widowed. Natasha Romanoff even secretly repented in her heart. She knew that the competition was so dangerous and almost ruined her sexual life. She would never do this. After tasting the ecstasy, let her sleep alone. She promises that she will definitely go crazy. However, there was no situation that worried them so much that the three of them almost jumped up. However, in order to block Athena's Lioyan leg, Levi had no choice but to use his own leg to clamp her slender beauty, and then twisted her arm slightly, turning her around and pressing her on his body. Well, that action, anyway, the few women watching felt familiar, as if they had used it on one or several crazy nights or mornings or evenings. However, it's better to be ambiguous than to have the source of happiness kicked out. And, by now, they have also realized some things. For example, Levi's identity may be more than just a person. For another example, Athena seems to have fallen into some kind of trap, but they don't feel very angry about Athena joining them, and they are even a little proud. After all, that's Athena. If their men can really subdue Athena, doesn't that mean that their power is extraordinary? Yes, if the woman their man had was so good, then his other women would naturally be as good. Clever logic. However, and there it is, both Sky and Wanda have convinced themselves that Levi is trying to capture Athena. Even if he is doing this in front of them now, damn it, let go of my 120. Back on the court, both arms were clasped and then cuffed behind his back, and one of his legs was tightly clamped by Levi, and the other leg, even if it was the most flexible, was useless at the moment. And for Athena, this moment is a beautiful marriage that has never been seen before. Who is she? One of the 3 famous virgin goddesses on Mount Olympus. Her sister Artemis promised not to marry for life and disdained those women who pursued love and marriage. Although she is not so extreme, among her famous achievements, helping young women escape the shackles of marriage is almost a common behavior. She may not hate men like Artemis, but it is simply unimaginable for her to accept a man's close contact point except for her father Zeus. No one else could have a skin-to-skin relationship with her, and that time was when she popped out of Zeus's head after she was born. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 112 Slip Away, or it will be broadcast live. Second update. Athena was full of anger. Leaving aside the weirdness of this posture, it was the first time she fought against a recruit without wearing armor, but she didn't expect that it would be like this for the first time. Her arm, which had never been touched by the opposite sex, was being held tightly by Levi at the moment, and the zero distance contact between the two made her irritable, angry, and a little flustered. The sunny breath on Levi's body, the strong male hormones, are something she has never encountered before, although she is naturally disgusted. But the girl's body, that has been around for thousands of years, is already blushing. Let me go. Let you go? Definitely okay. Just, did I win? Levi feels the delicate body of Athena. Some people can't judge their age. Even if Athena is thousands of years old, she is still a young girl from psychology to life. What she was like after she was born is what she still is now. After all, she is a god, and she still symbolizes the youth and vitality of a young girl, and symbolizes the god of chastity. You are dreaming, Athena shouted angrily. She will never admit that she has failed. She has never failed, and she has never failed since she was born. Even if it is the tyrant heirs on the battlefield, even if it is Poseidon, the lord of the sea. And today, she actually lost to Levi. This is impossible. She will never admit it. Then, I can only wait until you admit defeat as the main hall. You, Athena, was so angry that she struggled harder in her hands, but Levi's proficient joint skills and jujitsu made it impossible for Athena to use her strength at all. Compared with head-to-head combat on the battlefield, sometimes, in close combat, a reckless style of play may not necessarily win. The reckless man's 3 punches did not knock down the opponent, and the end was basically like this. And even though Athena suffered such humiliation, her holy virgin body was touched in this way. Levi's big hand touched her waist and that slender arm, and Levi's big pants, which were only wearing shorts, were even more incompatible with her. Her dolphins stand together. But she still remembered their agreement not to use divine power, or maybe she was so angry that she forgot. In short, Athena and Levi have always maintained this posture. I think how about we go back for breakfast? Getting a little hungry, Sky said suddenly. Wanda and Natasha Romanoff nodded with smiles on their faces, and then the 3 of them left the beach without looking at the tight-fitting man. Athena didn't notice this. She was facing something even more terrifying to her at the moment. You bastard. Stamping her feet resentfully, Athena glared at Levi, then flew up, turned into a golden light, and disappeared into the sky. Modified a lot. Chapter 113 Pulling God to make a movie. Turning his own essence into golden sunlight and dispersing, Levi looked at Athena, who was going away, and smiled dryly. To be reasonable, it really wasn't his intention. I can only say, it was an accident. He is not the kind of person who does not admit it, but what happened just now is not the development he wants, and he is not as shameless as that. Hey, where's Athena? When Levi came home alone, the eyes of the 3 women who were having breakfast gathered in an instant. However, after looking at it for a long time, and searching several times, they found that the good sister they just met was missing. She has something to do. She's going home. Levi talked nonsense with his eyes open, and then sat at the table, as if nothing had happened, and began to eat. Wouldn't you just put her there? Natasha Romanoff leaned over and asked softly. Although she knew that Levi was an honest man, she still remembered Yuzin's bad experience of flirting with a man once. I that kind of person in your eyes? Levi looked at Natasha Romanoff in surprise. He never forced her. Okay, the accident when they first met was entirely caused by Natasha Romanoff, and he didn't do anything. Wanda said suddenly. For a split second, Natasha Romanoff and Sky looked at Levi like they were a beast. It's just that some accidents happened. Accidents. After the meal was finished, Athena still didn't come back. Levi could only sigh secretly. The development of the matter was somewhat unexpected, and it was not surprising that it frightened her. However, when Levi was writing the manuscript at home and adapting Tony's Dark Knight series, a whistling sound from the sky woke him up from the creation point. Athena fell from the sky and landed in the yard. Levi was in the study on the second floor, and he could see her when he walked to the window. At the moment, she had already changed into casual clothes, and judging from her expression, at least there was nothing unusual about her after falling. Athena raised her head and glanced at Levi, then turned around, as if nothing had happened, and headed towards the living room. Soon, Levi heard the singing of warblers and swallows downstairs. It looks alright. Levi touched his chin, not quite understanding what Athena was thinking. But nothing on the surface is better than having a fight with a knife and a gun on the surface. The turmoil in the morning passed quietly, and in the afternoon, Thor, who was sleeping like a pig, finally woke up. He was dragged by several maids to take a bath, reeking of alcohol, and after changing clothes, he came to the restaurant to meet Levi and others. People enjoy dinner. When it was almost time to eat, Levi took out 2 scripts, handed one to Athena, and one to Thor. Hey, here are your 2 scripts. Let's see if there are any problems. Levi is very happy to help these 2 gods make movies. This is naturally not because he is charitable and likes to help others. Rather, he has his own needs in this regard, and making movies is what he has to do. The appearance of Athena and Thor, on the contrary, provided him with good actors and scripts. Think about it, if Levi could go to Asgard to film the Thor Ragnarok part, what would the effect be? Wouldn't it shock the whole world? Computer special effects are always just special effects. The real Asgard, that kind of picture. In fact, can computer special effects compare? Moreover, in the movie, Asgard has the great reputation of ruling the 9 realms for nothing, but in the end, there are not as many Asgard fighters as there are extras on the road. However, if Thor is the protagonist and the movie is about him, wouldn't it be natural for him to mobilize some Asgard warriors to act as extras for himself? Levi can also save a lot of extra cost and costume cost for nothing. Although Athena does not have these factors on Thor's side, she has something better than Thor. Image, admit it. Human beings, this world is a world of faces. 3 points are destined, 7 points depend on hard work, and the remaining 90 points are all up to face. So, with Athena's hardware facilities, plus Levi promotion and various works, is Athena not popular? That is absolutely impossible. And a big star who can call a large number of loyal fans to participate in a movie is even more effective than Levi spending tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of dollars each time on publicity. Celebrity traffic. Do you need to say more about this kind of thing? In the world where Levi came from, those little fresh meat and florids of the Celestial Dynasty, who have no acting skills, can still make a bad movie hundreds of millions at the box office with a single face. And now, what Levi is going to launch is a global idol. Boom. But, to Levi's surprise, Thor slapped the table angrily after just 2 glances. Man of Midgard, why do you insult Asgard, the great son of Odin, in this way? Seeing that Thor didn't even care about eating and drinking, and stared at him with wide eyes, Levi was a little confused. What the hell is this? What did he write to make this guy so angry? The others looked at Thor with the same puzzled look, and then at Levi. Athena simply reached out and took the script from Thor's hand, and after a brief glance, Levi obviously saw her eyes narrowed before getting up. Ha ha ha. Chapter 114. Brother Hammer is a real man, a man of iron blood. This is love. 114. Athena's laughter was completely undisguised, even very Zhang Yang, definitely, for a beauty like her. When she laughed, no matter how exaggerated it was, she looked good. However, the two men present did not have the time to appreciate this beautiful scenery. Thor scrunched his neck, flushed, and looked at Levi angrily. And Levi looked at Thor with a bewildered expression, and glanced at Athena from time to time, wondering what went wrong with the script. What's the matter? What's the matter? Show us, Sky. And the others didn't think it was a big deal, so they took the script and read it, but they flipped through it for a while, and they didn't find any problems after reading it at a glance. In fact, this script was adapted by Levi according to the original Thor 1 plot. As for the content of the adaptation, it is about the part of Phil Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D., and the rest is almost unchanged. And the names of Dr. Selvig and others have been edited a bit. What's the problem with this script, Sky? And the others were equally bewildered. From their point of view, this script is normal and there is almost nothing wrong with it. Hahaha. Oh, you want to understand? Athena was still smiling, while Thor was still blushing. He wanted to get angry, but seeing Levi's blank expression, he couldn't get angry. It's not Levi's fault. After all, there are some things that Levi will not know. What the hell is going on? Sky, Wanda and others became even more curious, and Athena finally stopped for a while after laughing wildly. She finally stopped laughing, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and then said with the script, the great future god king of Asgard, the invincible son of Odin, the brave and fearless god of thunder, fell in love with a human woman. Levi, I have to admire your brain hole. Yes, that word is called insane, right? Thor sat back on the chair angrily, looked around for him who couldn't find any drink, pouted, and finally grabbed the milk jug on the table, put the big jug of milk to his mouth and started gurgling. Do you know how old Thor is? Levi shook his head. He knows shit. This is not the movie world. Thor in the movie world is 1,500 years old, and the average lifespan of the Aesir is 5,000 years old, but Ding is actually almost 8,000 years old. And here, it is even more magical than the world of movies. At least, according to the popular time of Norse mythology, Thor is at least 2 or 3,000 years old. But what did it matter to him, and why should he know about it? Thor is a little older than me. It seems to be more than 400 years old. When the gods left the world collectively, that is, when the earth was, I was only more than 1,800 years old. At that time, according to your statement, it was 180 millennia. Yes, that nasty Jesus was exactly 1,000 years old. A very simple math problem. Levi immediately figured out that Thor should be more than 3,300 years old. But the question remains, what does this have to do with him? As if seeing Levi doubts, Athena ignored Thor, who was crazily milk drinking to vent his emotions, and then said slowly, do you think that a god who is more than 3,000 years old will not be married? Marriage. After these two words were uttered from Athena's mouth, Levi suddenly realized, no wonder Athena and Thor behaved like this. It turned out that Thor was already married. It is Sif, the goddess of harvest. Sif. Levi looked at Athena, who nodded. But, if it's just marriage, why is Thor's performance so exaggerated? Asking for flowers, before Levi could ask, Athena had already explained the reason while sighing. You know, Sif's big brother is the first warrior of Asgard, the gatekeeper of the heavens. Heimdall, he can see and hear any trouble in the 9 worlds. And Sif has a good sister, very good, just like me, same as Artemis, and this good sister is called Valkyrie. The empty milk jug was shattered into dross. Thor stood up with tears in his eyes, and then forced a smile. He took a deep look at Levi and Athena, and then walked away slowly with shaky steps. Valkyrie, Asgard's first Valkyrie? Athena nodded. Yes, she is also the only goddess among the gods who can fight me. However, her strength is still slightly inferior to mine. Song is because she has an army named after her. Poor Thor. Levi and others said in unison. My brother-in-law, acute eyes, acute ears. I can't hide anything from him, and my wife's best friend is not only super good at fighting, but also has an army. With this configuration, Thor's status in the family can be imagined. Brother Hammer is a real man, a man of iron blood and pure blood. This is love. Levi looked at Thor's back with admiration. In the movie, Sifis Thor's Fiancé doesn't actually have a lot of roles, and the image is far less dazzling than Natalie Portman. It's just, I didn't expect that in this world. Thor and her were already married, and after starting their married life, Brother Hammer would have such a happy life. So what, Athena, are your sisters older or younger? Chapter 115 Joker, who will play? I don't have many sisters, only 40 or 50. In addition, I have a God King father, a God King uncle, and a bunch of big brothers like Hercules and God of War. Athena squinted her eyes and looked at Levi quietly with a smile on her lips. Oh, I'll just ask. The two gods lived at home, and Thor just ate and drank every day, and went to the sky with a hammer in his hands, when he had nothing to do, definitely, and occasionally went to the sea. And Athena followed Natasha Romanoff and several daughters, and quickly started the life of urban women. For example, go shopping in Beverly Hills every day to see luxury goods. For example, go to the concert 177 together, to enjoy some face exhibitions, art exhibitions and so on. Definitely, Levi is teaching her all kinds of music he knows. There are various divine comedies that exist in another world, but this world does not have, some award-winning, some classics, and some that have been sung for decades, and are still enduring. In short, Levi National Idol plan is underway. However, the current highlight is the new movie, The Dark Knight and the in-progress transformation. Second, Joker, where's the show? The progress of turning into two is not difficult, and it is even easy to handle. It is nothing more than bombing, and that's it. But the Dark Knight series is a long series, and Levi intends to integrate him into his own DC universe instead of going out independently like the original Nolan trilogy. Then, he has to prepare a lot of things from the beginning, and, in order to save time and cost, it is best for him to shoot the first part and the second part together. After all, the cast of the two parts basically remains the same. If some of the later supporting roles need to be filmed again, it depends on their schedule, which is not worth wasting time for Levi. However, after the formulation of this plan, it faced a problem. Joker, the most classic character in Nolan's trilogy, is also the most classic villain in all Batman's works. Joker. Levi intends to win an award with this movie. The depth and plot tension of the second movie are completely sufficient. This world is not the kind of world without super abilities and superheroes, which is very different from the existence of Batman. Therefore, the drama of superheroes and villains may be happening in this world, and some people may be experiencing life like a movie. Then, the impact of this movie will be more prominent than the original world. Discussions and demonstrations about human nature and morality, about power and law. Such a movie is almost prepared to win awards. In fact, at the 81st Academy Awards ceremony in another world, Batman's The Dark Knight won 2 awards and countless nominations as for the rest of the film awards. This film also gained a lot. And this is almost impossible in other superhero movies. Business and art have always been extremely difficult to integrate together, and anyone who can do this can be called a master. However, there is no one around Levi who can play Joker. In fact, under him, for now, the only male actors officially signed to his Marvel Entertainment company are Quicksilver and Ward. And the two of them are obviously not suitable to play a neuropathy, and they are also a neuropathy with their own unique temperament, unique charm, and unique thoughts. Levi was so annoyed that he didn't forget about it when he was eating, and kept chanting Oda's name all the time. For him, movies are his career. He has been in the industry for decades, and this is what he loves. And traveling to Marvel was just an accident. And his nagging finally attracted the attention of Natasha Romanoff and others, and after listening to Levi's explanation, Natasha Romanoff just looked at him strangely. Hey, honey, I thought, have you got something wrong? Levi looked puzzled at the head of her harem. Although she was the last to come in, there was no doubt that Sky and Wanda were, in some respects, little girls compared to her. Easily, they recognized Natasha Romanoff as the big sister head. Honey, do you know where you are now? Natasha Romanoff pointed out the window. Look, there, the city that never sleeps, Los Angeles, there, and there, Hollywood, the largest film factory in the world. There are countless actors, countless young people. They are waiting for your call. Why do you feel that you have no actors available? 2.2 Levi suddenly realized he was indeed in a misunderstanding. For a long time, in his movies, Lee is almost always played by himself, or the people around him, his people. And the people around him protagonist are either superheroes or superhero backups, so that he has never considered those ordinary people. Heath Ledger. What? Natasha Romanoff was standing behind Levi, with her head resting on his shoulder, when Levi uttered a name. Nothing, I was just thinking, Heath Ledger, does this person exist? Chapter 116. Wow, there are so many hot resources. Red Empress, help me search. Search by name to see if I can find their social profiles. Although there may be differences in names in different worlds, and some people even have stage names, but Levi still intends to use the simplest and crudest way to find out. This is not difficult. With the ability of Red Queen and Sonic, they are enough to invade the world's network databases. In the past year, Levi has also promoted the development of social media in the world. Some things can still be found online. Try to find it, Heath Ledger. This is the main target at the moment. Joker must be him. Then, Paul Havoc, Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Christopher Nolan, Jon Favreau 1, Anthony Russell. Well, that's it for now. More. Levi read a long list of names, most of them actors, but also directors. 14. In terms of actors, except for Heath Ledger, the irreplaceable Joker, the rest are basically the box office guarantee of Hollywood in Levi memory. Definitely, except for Marvel movies. After all, Tony Levi has a real person here. As for the directors, they are the directors that Levi values most for commercial blockbusters, and all of them are big stars. Needless to say, Nolan, others, like Jon Favreau, the fat man who played the driver Harpy in the Iron Man trilogy. He is the director of the Iron Man trilogy, so to speak. He created the Marvel movie most popular character in the universe and biggest box office solo franchise. Come on, what's wrong with DC? DC has to be all dark. The dark style is Nolan's forte, but this does not mean that the entire DC has to be like this. Don't Aquaman and Shazam look very happy? Commercial films are too gloomy and dark, which is a great challenge to the eyesight of the audience in the cinema. Sir, is there no need to search for actresses? The voice of the Red Queen sounded, and Levi was stunned for a moment by her words, and then responded calmly, no need. There are so many people in the house, it's already very noisy. If Athena's sister group continues to expand, it will really weaken HUO gang. Levi shook his head. Well, search for Nicole Kidman for me. Forget it. If she exists, she is no longer young, although she was very beautiful when she was young. Levi still remembers his first goddess when he was young. At that time, he watched the Batman movie for the first time, Forever Batman, and the heroine Dr. Melis in that movie, that is, Nicole Kidman, became his sleepwalking so many times when he dreamed back in the middle of the night. It is said that when he was in school, he applied for the film academy and later engaged in the film industry. Maybe he had some idea that he could become famous overnight and become an international director, and then he could kiss her. It was only after he saw that the beauty had used knives and needles on his body in order to preserve the years, and in the end, he was accidentally disabled, that his dream was shattered. Sir, the search has been completed. While Levi is immersed in the memories of the past, the work of the Red Queen has been completed. Well, let me see. Heath Ledger, hey, just graduated from the film school? Fuck, this is destined for me. I immediately sent him an offer, saying that I have a role to talk to him about. Two big bald heads, comrade Guo da. Statham, forget it. Divers who have not yet lost their hair. You should honestly win glory for the country, and the bald head is strong SEN. Hiss, this is too young. Levi suddenly found a problem. The actors and even directors in his memory seemed a little too young. It seems that their timeline has been forcibly delayed by decades. Wait, check it out for me. Check it out. Cameron, Spear, Morgan Freeman, Johnny Depp, and Nicole Kidman. Levi called out the name aloud. He really didn't pay attention to this problem before. There are no such movies and stars in this world. He just thought that the world is different and the culture is different. But now it seems that part of the reason may be that some people in this world appeared later than in another world, so that some of the things they did, some of their works appeared later. Up 350. Sure enough, with the search of the Red Queen, a lot of names found the characters Levi remembered. Definitely, there were also a few who did not find the corresponding ones, but most of them were found. New York. Red Queen, prepare a plane for me to go to New York tomorrow afternoon. In addition, this, and this. These people I marked, let the people in the company sign them. The longer the contract, the better. What about the treatment? No, if you are afraid of spending money, you must show them the prospect. Make sure that they will be popular, and make sure that, even if they are popular, they will not leave. After engaging in a lot of movie stars, Levi still felt that it was not enough. Relying on the memory in his mind, he started a big search in the entertainment industry, including film and television stars, singers, well-known hosts, well-known screenwriters, well-known creators and creative teams. A bunch of names popped out of his mouth and were recorded by the Red Queen. It doesn't matter if you can't find it. Maybe it will appear in the future, and once it appears, Levi will try to win over them into his own interest group and then gather all the resources just to promote his movies. Chapter 117 Horror Movie Shooting Speed. With the help of the Red Queen, the ticket was quickly booked. Although he wanted to go to New York impulsively, Levi did not continue to be overheated. After calming down, the purpose of his trip to New York has changed. Except an invitation to a well-known show. Resident Evil 2 is still in the release period. Although the release in North America has ended, it is still in a hot state globally. This movie has earned him more than $800 million box office. Although it is not as amazing as Wonder Woman, but due to the influence and momentum of the previous first film, and after it was released during this period, the box office has doubled by more than 10 times. It can be regarded as creating a moderate record, so the popularity is not small. The famous talk show in the United States, due to the increasingly fat body of the host Jimmy Fallon, was dubbed the Fat Lunch Show by Chinese netizens. This show, originally, has demonstrated Levi's popularity and status in the entertainment industry. Hello, Levi. Hello, can I call you Jimmy? Because it's more affectionate. In fact, I'm about to adopt a pet. I've already thought of its name. Jimmy. It sounds very affectionate. The opening started in a more witty and humorous way. As a talk show host with a daily vicious mouth, Fenelon naturally didn't care about Levi teasing in front of him, and they even told them beforehand. Let me count. Biochemical 1, Shape-shifting King Kong 1, Wonder Woman, Biochemical 2, 4 movies. You have already entered the $2 billion box office club. Can you talk about your thoughts? As the youngest $2 billion box office in history box office director, the biggest gimmick about Levi is his youth. For now, he is only in his 20s. In fact, the legal age is only in his early 20s and most of them are in this grade, and they have just graduated from college. And Levi has become a $2 billion director. This is $2 billion US dollars, but even in RMB, this figure is amazing. Oh, what I'm trying to say is, if hard work is going to work, what's a genius for? There's no doubt I'm that genius. The special effects on the scene kept laughing, and Fenelon also laughed cooperatively, but after laughing for a while, he asked again. Then, genius director, what is your next goal? I heard that Shape-shifting King Kong 2 has already started filming. The efficiency is amazing. I have also made guest appearances in some movies. I know that shooting a movie often requires it took several years, not to mention the back and forth preparations. It is very likely that an Oscar-winning film will require decades of polishing just for the script, but you, in just 2 years, you have already offered us 4 masterpieces have been released, and now, the 5th one is about to appear. With this kind of efficiency, I believe you can really disdain everyone. In fact, after being amazed by the genius at the beginning, most people in the film industry are surprised by Levi's speed of filming. Although for the world 10 years later, the speed of producing a commercial blockbuster a year is nothing, but in this era, this efficiency is somewhat exaggerated. What's more, there is not 1 Levi a year, but 3 a year, which is an exaggeration, but in fact, if they study carefully, they will find that the few films Levi made before, except for Wonder Woman, which has more plots and frequent scene changes, the others are almost purely special effects films. Even the battles of Shape-shifting King Kong in the city are mostly made with green cloth in the studio. After all, if Los Angeles is really blown up, then the people of Los Angeles will have to fight with him. Therefore, in these films, there are actually not many scenes of actors, and the scenes of special effects fighting, or pure special effects bombing occupy the majority. And this kind of movie may be time consuming and labor intensive for other directors and production teams, but it is very easy for Levi, who has more advanced artificial intelligence and spent king points to exchange for the advanced computer crew of the Umbrella Company. Easy point. In another world, the initial special effects still require a lot of handmade molds, such as dinosaurs, aliens, spaceships, etc. all need to be actually produced. After 10 years, with the improvement of computer technology and computer hardware level, including a large number of applications of motion capture technology. A special effects movie can already be done almost only by computer, and the technology of Red Queen, NUOs, and Umbrella Company is much ahead of 2018. After all, it is an overhead science fiction world. Even if Levi is shooting and producing special effects at the same time, coupled with his super ability and energy, it is not surprising that the almost omnipotent film production level has reached this speed. However, other people in this world will definitely not know this. They only know that the tall and handsome young director with a sunny smile on his face said very domineeringly, "Point target, Jimmy, if this sentence is for my neighbor, he will definitely wish to get all the beauties in Hollywood to bed. However, I'm different. I will let them all take the initiative to go to my bed." Chapter 118 went to the entertainment circle party. If I can shoot enough movies in my lifetime, I might be able to invite all the actresses to my movie and make a sex scene. The atmosphere at the scene continued to be hot because of Levi rhetoric, because of his self-disclosure. The effect of this show was perfect. Okay, having said so much, I believe that director Levi came here today for something special. And we talked about your neighbor earlier. Who is your neighbor? Fei Lung looked like he knew what to ask, and Levi didn't shy away from it. He had communicated with Tony about this kind of thing before. For the movie, he needed to cooperate with some publicity, including some fishing boats promoted by Levi, Marvel Entertainment, etc. Tony didn't care. He was originally a collection of scandals, the center of the fishing boat, and it didn't matter if he was involved in a movie. My neighbor, Jimmy, don't be funny, you know, we are the only family on that beach. Therefore, the news about Tony's upcoming role in Levi's new Dark Knight Batman series was conveyed to everyone on the TV and the internet through 610. This is a movie I tailor-made for him. To be precise, it is a series. I like to make series because they are more profitable. Levi has made no secret of his obsession with the box office. The setting of the protagonist is exactly the same as Tony, a playboy, a billionaire, who inherited billions of assets from his family. However, I also hope to use this film to give that egomaniac a little enlightenment, tell him something. As a friend, I feel it is necessary to do so. As far as the current stage is concerned, Tony's popularity has not yet reached its peak, but it can be regarded as a household name. Comparing similar people, it seems that the unknown wife Mi Qiangdong of the Celestial Dynasty is similar to Hu Chang Ali Jackma. However, because he is not an Iron Man now, most people only know that he is rich and that he is living a life that many people dream of, and he is extremely chic. And most of this reputation is obtained by changing a magazine girl bed partner every week. So, this is an educational film you made for him? Fallon extracted information from Levi words. Well, to him, or to other people, to the entire society. I have been saying these things, haven't I, about human beings' recklessness with biochemical technology, about the origin of life, aliens and the survival of the earth. Regarding women, now, I will say something from a more specific perspective. There is no need to explain the rest too clearly. The filming of The Dark Knight has not yet started. In fact, the script has not been fully finalized. It is only a first draft. While Batman, the Batcave, and the like are already being designed and set up to Levi request, the film has not yet officially begun. In theory. Then naturally it is not suitable to say too much. Otherwise, what will be said in this long promotional period? Tout a wave of Levi, talk about gossip, daily life, and then talk about new movies and future prospects. Basically, the process is over, and the recording of the program has come to an end point at the end. Fenelon looked at Levi, suddenly thought of something, and asked, "Hey, big director, there is a party at my house tonight. To be precise, it is held by a friend of mine. Some newcomers in the film and television industry are invited. Are you interested in attending?" Although Levi is well known, but strictly speaking, his debut is not too early, so he naturally deserves the title of newcomer. In fact, many of the best newcomer awards in this year's film awards have him. It's just that he won't go if he hasn't confirmed the award. He just needs to send an assistant to think about it. Oh, newcomers? I hope I can see some good people, and I just don't have some roles for the next few movies. I'm looking for a new batch of people. In the past, Levi probably wouldn't have attended this kind of gathering, but after learning about the fact that those actors were younger, he really wanted to try his luck at the moment, hook up with one or two future film stars and queens. Soon, the recording of the program was completely over. Levi went back to the hotel to pack up, ate something, and then left at the address given by Fenelon. Fenelon is a well-known host with extremely high ratings, not only in the United States, but also in other countries. He was even elected as the Best Host Award in the past 2 years, and so on point for the entertainment industry. Fame is equivalent to money point as a high-income group. Fenelon's apartment is naturally not small, at least, the apartment that Levi lived in was much larger. "Welcome, Director Levi." After some courtesies and pleasantries, Levi was welcomed into the house. Suddenly, a group of men and women appeared in front of Levi's. The quiet and peaceful outside the door was completely different from the bustling inside. Omega, it's Director Levi. As soon as Levi was welcomed through the door, someone rushed up. Levi took a closer look and found it very familiar, and the latter was shaking his hand excitedly. Yeah. Levi had just opened his mouth, and before the other party had time to speak, suddenly, a crowd of people rushed up and surrounded Levi. "Oh my god, Director Levi. Director Levi, you are my idol. Can you sign me? Oh my god, I can't believe it. But Director Levi, I heard you're casting. What do you think of me?" Almost all the people at the party were attracted. Levi barely dealt with these guys, signing autographs, taking photos together. After half a day the crowd dispersed. Only a few people who didn't know what their intentions were still hanging around him. At this time, Levi had time to ask Fenelon next to him what was going on. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 119, Ghostly Director. All the stars hold the moon. Oh, I just gave them a heads up about your casting for the new movie. I hope you don't mind. Most of them are actors, and you, Levi, you're already the most sought after director in the world gone. This is no exaggeration. What Fallon said is true. Perhaps Levi is not the most famous director, nor is he the director with the most box office revenue, but due to his particularities, his popularity among the show business circle is far beyond his imagination. So far, the 4 films that Levi has released, except Biochemical 2 and Biochemical 1, are series films, so the casting has been repeated. The Biochemical series, the shape-shifting King Kong series, and Wonder Woman, Levi are all pure newcomers starring, and will they hold too? Skyrim. Almost all the leading actors in Levi movies became famous by participating in his movies. Sky, who plays the goddess Alice in Red, Wanda, and Natasha Romanoff, who played Wonder Woman Diana, just starring in a Levi movie. These 3 women's worth in Hollywood has soared to an astonishing level. Among them, Natasha Romanoff has the highest social status. Her performance in Wonder Woman not only shows her heroism and strength, but also represents and symbolizes the image of women in the new era and women's rights during the period after the release of Wonder Woman. Well-known luxury brands have offered Natasha Romanoff an endorsement price of $20 million. You must know that Natasha Romanoff's salary at this stage is less than $20 million a year, and the highest salary offered to her by various agencies and film producers is only $5 million. However, this is mainly due to the fact that Natasha Romanoff has too few works. With only one work, She still cannot prove her box office appeal, but as long as the next film she participates in, and the next film can maintain a good performance, if the box office level is not high, then her salary will immediately rise to sky-high levels. The movie Captain America 3 can be called Avengers Alliance 2.5, and it can be said that there is a gathering of heroes in that step. However, it is said that for that movie, Robert Downey Jr.'s salary alone is the sum of all other Avengers Alliance members. This is the treatment of top actors. Maybe he is not the best acting, but he must be the most attractive to the audience, willing to make people pay to watch his movies. As for Levi, as a director and actor, his own value has soared, not to mention Natasha Romanoff, Sky and Wanda, the three leading actresses are already worth a lot of money. His ability, which can be called a touch of gold, is a ghost. If it is not remembered by the people in this house, well, not bad. After understanding the reason, Levi said with a smile, he didn't feel bored at all. Being surrounded by people like stars and moons was a relatively novel experience for him. Moreover, what Phelan did was not wrong. On the contrary, it was helping him. He did see some familiar faces among these people, and many of them might become movie kings and queens. The party continued. Levi wandered among the crowd. No matter where he went, he would instantly become the focus, and he thus collected a lot of talents. Miss Charlize Theron, are you interested in signing with my Marvel Entertainment company? Mr. Will Smith, I have a movie that might suit you better. Mr. Tom Cruise, you are here. Levi is like a hunter who has started hunting, searching for prey in this hunting ground. Everyone, what are you talking about? Looking at the unusually young Tom Cruise, Levi got used to it after a short period of discomfort. His career in this world has just started. Levi joining brought the attention of the entire discussion group to him, asking for flowers. We're talking about you, sir. The young Tom Cruise looks quite romantic, with a charming charm, which is different from those people Levi has come into contact with before. Tony, the captain, they are another kind of existence, and a star like Tom Cruise, but it is a kind of person that Levi is more familiar with. Definitely, for him now, it's almost the same. We're talking about you, about your scandals. You know, the heroines in every movie are so beautiful, and the media seems to have photographed you going in and out together more than once, and went to your mansion many times. This kind of news that may cause an uproar in the outside world, and is worthy of a special mention in the entertainment section is just talk here. They definitely don't have nothing to do to advertise for others. Gossip is a good way to increase popularity, so no one will worry about what news will spread. I said they are all my girlfriends. Maybe you don't believe it either. Levi spread his hands. Although there is a goddess in the family, who is naturally a headache, and the legion of this goddess may continue to expand, but, to the outside world, the women in the family are naturally Levi capital to show off. Men conquer women by conquering the world. A man's achievements can usually be seen from his women point car, watch, house. No, only people can measure the value of people, and a man who can have the best woman is absolutely impossible to be an ordinary person. I believe in you, Director Levi. After all, you are such an excellent man. You are worthy of them. A crisp female voice came from behind Levi. Chapter 120. Nicole Kidman, Beauty in a Prosperous Age. Director Levi, nice to meet you. The lithe voice is very pleasant to the ears. However, the most important thing is not the case. Looking at the girl who appeared in his eyes, Levi's expression was slightly in a trance, as if he had returned to his childhood dream. Director Levi, hello, I am Nicole. May I call you that? There was a slight smile on Levi's face. The days had disappeared. Only the clear and firm eyes remained. Definitely. The girl in front of her was only 18 or 19 years old. She was wearing a decent yellow dress. The long hair in the shawl was as smooth as a waterfall, and her blue eyes were as clear as the sea. 487 suddenly appeared in front of Levi, and it was the goddess of his youth, Nicole Kidman, whom he had been thinking about all along. Moreover, what surprised him even more was that in the original world, although Nicole at the moment was not yet over half 100 years old, she was also a mother of 2 children. Move the needle, resulting in unbelievable style. But now she is similar to the rest of the people present. She is too light. Beautiful beauty. This is Levi's evaluation of her. Compared with Charlize Theron, another Oscar queen at the party, Nicole's temperament and appearance are even better. Charlize wins in that aura, but Nicole is unquestionably a princess according to Levi knowledge. The Kidman family is the 8th largest landowner in the world. The total amount of land owned by their family is more than 90,000 square kilometers, which is equivalent to 1% of the land area of the Chinese dynasty. They are also the private landowners with the largest amount of land in the world. And Nicole was born in such a wealthy family. One can imagine how good her family background and growing environment are. Definitely, and to Levi's surprise, Nicole seems to have a crush on him. The appearance of Nicole moved the men in this small group. Everyone tried to be calm and gentle, or showed their unique side, hoping to make the beauties notice themselves. For example, Cruz also has a confident smile and charming deep eyes on his face. In the original world, he was Nicole's husband. The two had been married for nearly 10 years. It can be said that Nicole spent the best time with him. However, for those present at the scene today, if you talk about the limelight, if you talk about the talent and achievements, can you compare with Levi? In the same grade, their careers have just started, and many people are still looking for a role, but can't get it. Levi, on the other hand, is already a member of the $2 billion Directors Club. He has already stood at the top of Hollywood, looking down on everyone. Seeing Levi walking with the beauty and walking to the side to talk, the mood of many men fell to the bottom in an instant, and Tom Cruise even heard a thumping sound, as if something broke. I like your Wonder Woman very much. After the movie was released, I watched it 5 times. And you? I like your Apollo very much. When they came to a slightly secluded place, Nicole immediately came up to her with eager eyes. She made her debut when she was very young, but at that time she only participated in some commercials. But after growing up a little bit, she began to learn acting and also starred in some movies. This is her hobby, and with her family background, she is naturally not doing it for money. You know, just under her name, there are nearly 10,000 mu of land in Australia, and she is a veritable rich woman. So she can ignore many unspoken rules in the entertainment industry, and she doesn't need to pick and choose when making movies. She just needs to choose what she likes. Then, her attitude towards Levi is completely from the heart, instead of complimenting Levi like many people around her, just because she wants to get the role in his movie and get a chance to soar into the sky. Thank you. I have also watched your movie, and frankly speaking, your performance is not very good, at least, not to the point where I think it is perfect, but I'm deeply impressed by you. Levi didn't choose to praise mindlessly. He knew that the girl in front of him didn't need this, and with her wealth and appearance, she had heard too many compliments. On the contrary, it is most appropriate to say something that she is more interested in from a professional point of view. Sure enough, Nicole was not angry after hearing Levi's words, but became more interested and continued chatting with Levi. Oh, fork. In the distance, Fei Lung looked at the fiery Nicole, who was chatting with Levi with a wry smile on his face. Because this time, his friend organized the party for him, and Nicole was introduced to him by that friend. In fact, 0.3, when Nicole came over at the beginning, they chatted pretty well, but now, why does he feel like he is going to be intercepted? Shouldn't I invite him over? Fei Lung lamented in his heart. As a media practitioner, he knew more about Levi affairs, and he was well aware of Levi's ability to pick up girls. Now, could it be that his goddess is about to be snatched away? He didn't know that if he was in another world, at the same gathering, he would be considered gay by the goddess because of playing games, and he would also miss the opportunity to get to know the goddess better. Chapter 121 Sun Divine Power Promotion. The party is over. Thanks to Fei Lung's matchmaking, Levi got to know a lot of celebrities. Definitely, the biggest gain was getting to know Nicole, and established a good first impression with her. After marking Fat Lun as a friendly army, Levi sent Nicole home under Fat Lun's right smile. In the next few days, Levi stayed in New York, contacted the actors, and at the same time, had further contact with Nicole, until he received a call from home. There was a fight? Why? Wait, Tony got into a fight with the captain and Bucky. Well, I know what's going on, although this is someone else's private matter. Levi feels that he still has to take care of it. Bucky was his man. It was Levi who rescued him from Hydra, and at the same time, he was the one who restored his memory. Although Bucky didn't say it, and Levi didn't ask for it, but after destroying Hydra, he still stayed at Levi 14's side, waiting for his orders. This is his kind of repayment. As for Tony, regardless of the current friendship between the two of them, from another point of view, Levi has finished the script now, the preliminary work is in progress, and the filming of The Dark Knight is about to start. If Tony makes something at this time off, his filming plan will have to start all over again. By the way, the publicity has already started, so we can't just change actors temporarily, after bidding farewell to Nicole and the others, and making an invitation, and only waiting for her to visit in the future. Levi didn't even bother to take the plane, and disappeared into the sky as a golden light point. Although the box office of Resident Evil 2 is not as high as Wonder Woman, it is still hundreds of millions, which is much higher than the first one. Coupled with the subsequent box office of Wonder Woman, the number of points in Levi's hands has once again exceeded the 1 billion mark. And these points, Levi did not keep them, but took them all out, and exchanged them for Shenwuvi again. Before, he split the Sun Divine Power, which made the price of 2 billion into a reduced version of 1.5 billion. But this time, he not only made up, but also increased some. That is to say, his strength has surpassed that of Apollo in the movie. Lord of the Sky and Lord of Strength are the priesthoods he has exchanged for this time. There are too many symbols of the sun: life, time, reincarnation, sky, power, authority, order, and even creation. In ancient times, people's cognition of the sun was almost everything, eternal and eternal point among multiple civilizations. The sun god is a supreme god. For example, La in Egypt, or the Eastern Emperor Tai in China, and after this exchange, Levi's strength almost got an explosive growth. In terms of speed, although Levi's flight speed was not slow before, it was not particularly fast either. Before, he only had the priesthood of the sun, and the speed was the speed at which the sun rose from east to west, that is, the speed of the Earth's rotation, which was about 400 meters per second, barely exceeding the speed of sound point. But this time, he obtained the function of the Sky Lord, and the speed has reached the speed of the sun's revolution point. The sun is not fixed. In fact, as an ordinary fixed star in the Milky Way, the sun also revolves around the center of the Milky Way at a speed, just like the Earth revolves around the sun. And this speed is 250 kilometers per second. Yes, not 250 meters per second, nor 250 kilometers per year or per minute, but 250 kilometers per second. At present, the fastest flight vehicle manufactured by human beings is Voyager 1, which is the thing that flies out of the solar system with 2 golden records, and its speed is 17 kilometers per second. To use another analogy, the Monkey King has a somersault of 108,000 miles, but this does not specify the specific time spent, but according to the description in the 34th chapter of the original Journey to the West, Monkey himself said that going to the west for 100,000 miles, 8,000 miles, he can go back and forth 50 times in one day. Calculated according to the 12 hours of daytime, the speed of Monkey somersault cloud should be 64 kilometers per second, and if the calculation is 8 hours of daytime without dawn and dusk, then the speed of somersault cloud is 96 kilometers per second. But no matter which one it is, Levi's speed has far surpassed the Monkey's somersault cloud. Definitely, in the atmosphere, Levi will naturally not fly at such a terrible speed. B. Chapter 673. There are too many flight objects in the atmosphere, such as planes, satellites, etc. And too fast will also cause some bad effects. For example, it will definitely be monitored by satellites from various countries. Suddenly something of this speed appeared, and those countries would definitely go to war for it, so Levi just flew at several times the speed of sound. But it was so, and it didn't take long for him to return to the Malibu beach point, and at the moment, there is a lot of fun playing there. Back, Sky, and the others were gathering together to watch the fight in front of them when they suddenly saw a person landed, turned their heads and looked, and the girls who hadn't seen him for several days were suddenly very happy. Athena, who was eating popcorn, glanced at Levi. As a god, she sensed some changes in Levi, but she hadn't noticed the changes yet. Do you want to pull them away? Wanda looked at the anxious Pepper and asked Levi. Chapter 122 Tony gets angry, Captain Stupid and Winter Soldier. Tony over there is wearing a battle armor. Although this armor is not the Mark series in the original book, it is actually more powerful, but it is still vulnerable to Wanda. The Wanda in this world is not the Avenger in the movie, who was influenced by the mind gem to produce super ability, but a powerful mutant. She has awakened ability since she was a child and was influenced by some inexplicable existence and gained a good magic ability. Yes, she knows magic. Her ability is called reality distortion, and her magic is called origin magic power. The combination of the two can achieve the effect of changing reality. Probably, it is equivalent to saying that, if I say black is white, then the black will become white. And after she got to know Levi, both Levi and Athena have trained and taught her. Therefore, even if her current strength cannot beat Levi and Athena, it is not much different. Tony and the captain, in her naturally, it was nothing in his eyes, but Levi shook his head. Let me do it. It's still about Levi. After all, he hadn't told Tony the whole time that had led to this. Really. Before Bucky woke up and got to know Tony, he once told him about it, but he said that he had to confess his crime to Tony, so Levi didn't care about it anymore. Fight. Levi looked at Pepper, Tony's caring little secretary. Perhaps it was because Levi fed Tony dog food every day. According to Sky, there seemed to be a spark between Tony and Pepper. Pepper, do you know what's going on? Pepper, who has been paying attention to the battle situation, heard Levi's inquiry, and after hesitation, he slowly explained the whole story. It turned out that early this morning, Tony was modifying his second generation armor, and then the captain and Bucky arrived together. The three had a conversation, and Pepper went out to prepare drinks for them and left for a while, only knowing that she seemed to be talking about Tony's parents. And then, when she came back again, she saw Tony's red eyes, the whole portrait an angry lion. Before he could figure out what was going on, saw Tony grabbing his unfinished battle armor to arm himself, and then moved his hand at Bucky. And this action, the captain naturally would not ignore it, and gradually evolved into the current three-person melee. And they fought and retreated. The captain seemed to understand that the two of them alone could not stop Tony, so he chased and fled all the way and ran outside Levi's house. Idiot. Levi shook his head. The captain and Bucky are undoubtedly very smart, but their personalities are the same upright, so they came to the door to admit their mistakes. Levi deliberately gave them such a long time and chose to let Bucky solve the problem by himself, just thinking that maybe Bucky would take a detour first, such as building a good relationship with Tony first, let him understand his history, and expose the crimes of Hydra, and finally explain this matter. In this way, even if Tony is very angry, he won't go to the point of using a knife or a gun. In the end, there is a high probability that he will choose to forgive Bucky. After all, Bucky can't help himself. Like in the movie, it was all because of Zemo's step-by-step guidance, leaving Tony no time to buffer this matter. Otherwise, why didn't he go after Bucky after that? Why did you reconcile with the captain after a fight? After figuring this out, Levi knew how to deal with it after a little thought. To put it bluntly, Tony was right about this matter, but Bucky was also right. What was wrong was Hydra, the person who manipulated Bucky, and the person who betrayed Howard Stark. Well, let them take the blame. Stop, Levi shouted in a deep voice. As his voice came out, a vast divine power poured out like sunlight, filling the sea cliff in front of him directly. The huge space was filled with billowing divine power. For a moment, whether it was the captain and Bucky who were struggling to resist, or Tony wearing the new armor, they were like bugs in amber, unable to move. Stop it, Tony, Levi said softly, and then his divine power was activated, and the injuries on the three of them healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom. With a bang, the battle armor on Tony's body was torn off violently by Levi, turning into pieces, and falling to the ground. Putang. ZHU. The three of them fell to the ground. Tony fell to his knees, his hands propped on the ground, looking extremely decadent. Seeing this, the captain, who was still on guard, suddenly couldn't bear it, and wanted to step forward to help him, but Tony ignored him. He looked up at Levi. You want to help him? Good Inuozeo. 2. Oh, I almost forgot. He was found by you. Did you know about it a long time ago? At this moment, Tony, for some reason, had a sense of desolation like a lonely family point, but Levi naturally wouldn't he let his mentality continue. Yes, I knew it, before I found him. But, Tony, ask yourself, is this really his fault? Levi looked at Bucky again, with a look of resentment on his face. You said you should solve it by yourself. That's how you solve it? Just come to the door to admit your mistake, and then fight with him? By the way, do I have to doubt the IQ of the two of you? You are also a victim yourself. Why should you fight against something that doesn't belong to you? Responsibility? Chapter 123 Gwazi, miserable Tony with big shit. Bucky and Tony's problem. Frankly, what does it have to do with Bucky? He has been brainwashed, lost his memory, not to mention knowing right from wrong. He can't even control his own behavior. He is just a knife, a tool. Point. You were hacked to death by a knife. Do you want to blame the knife? The one who holds the knife is the murderer, and the one who sells the knife is an accomplice. But the blame cannot be blamed on the knife anyway. But Tony didn't seem to understand what Levi meant. He just stared at Levi with a sad face after hearing Levi admit the previous question point, as if he suffered some great betrayal. I think you have the time to blame this stupid, brainwashed idiot who can't even remember who he is. You might as well think about how to deal with the person who really killed your parents. The person who manipulated him. Originally, he still had a stubborn expression on his face. His neck was stiff, and he looked like I don't listen to 527. I don't listen to it. Tony was stunned for a moment. He also figured it out a little bit. It seemed that what Levi said was correct. It's true that Bucky moved his hand, but the culprit should be the man behind him. Who is he? Where is he? Tony growled. He looked first at Levi, then at Bucky, and Bucky took a deep look at Levi, with a little gratitude in his eyes, before speaking. Alexander Pierce, he ordered me to go. However, he has been arrested by the Heavenly Sword Bureau. The Heavenly Sword Bureau is killing the remnants of Hydra around the world. His assistance is still needed. But there is another news that I knew. Bucky paused, then said a name amidst Tony's angry gaze. Opodry. No, it's impossible. Tony looked at Bucky angrily. Opodry is his BC uncle, the entrepreneurial partner of his father Howard Stark. After his parents passed away, Opodry has been taking care of him. If Tony is the only relative left in this world, then Tony would think it was him without any hesitation. I didn't lie to you. It was a bad day who gave Hydra information, and they were able to know Howard's course of action. Bucky's voice is firm and powerful. As Levi said, he shouldn't take the blame for Hydra's sins. It should be his responsibility and he will not refuse. And he has been atoning for the crimes he committed in the past. However, he is not so generous that he has to bear it all on his shoulders. I don't believe it. You are lying to me. You are all lying to me. Bucky's reaffirmation sent Tony straight into madness. The news and excitement he got today was more than enough. First he learned the truth about the murder of his parents, and then he heard that uncle, whom he trusted most and regarded as his family, turned out to be the mastermind behind the scenes, which stimulated him quite a bit. And the current him is not the Iron Man who has experienced various life and death situations, experienced near-death front lines, sacrificed, and lost in the future. Gwazi. Levi shook his head, a slightly soft force radiated out, and Tony, who had gone mad, directly fainted to the ground. Send him in, and stabilize his emotions first. Pepper, look after him. If there is anything, let's talk about it when he wakes up. It's the best thing to do right now. Levi doesn't want any bloody drama. Tony yells, and then he lets this guy go, and then he sees him degenerate. Education needs to be taught once. Otherwise, what kind of education is it? Everyone returned to the house as promised, and put Tony, who fell asleep under the influence of divine power, on the sofa in the living room. Levi ignored him, but the captain and others accompanied Pepper to watch him there, so there was no need to worry. Then Levi was busy at home all afternoon, mainly doing some pre-transformation special effects scene construction. When it was time for dinner, Tony finally woke up. Just waking up from his sleep, he was still in a daze, and Pepper called him several times before he came back to his senses thanks to Levi divine power. He slept soundly, and now he wakes up feeling hungry and full of energy. But when he came back to his senses and understood the cause and effect, he fell into silence. No one bothered him. There are some things that others cannot help. Levi might be able to wipe his memory and make him forget about the unpleasant experience, but unless he never knows, he's still in this mess. Even more serious. Pepper, eat something. This guy, leave him alone. Levi sat at the dining table and greeted him. He hadn't eaten home food for several days, and he was not used to eating those things outside every day. However, Pepper didn't go over, just shook his head and rejected Levi's kindness, and then looked at Tony with a worried face. Go and eat. It took a long time before Tony raised his head and forced a smile at Pepper. Sitting at the table, Tony looked at the colorful food in front of him. What he had in front of him was his favorite from the past. The chef at Levi family has written down the preferences of these regular customers. I need evidence. Tony stared at Bucky, who was sitting across from him, who also didn't move the food in front of him, just watched him quietly. No problem, Bucky responded. Chapter 124. Xiaobi wins the wedding. Tony and Bucky successfully reconcile at Levi home. Definitely, it is obviously impossible to expect the three of them to become better because of this, or even act as if nothing happened. But Tony finally calmed down. At this point, Levi also knows that the matter can come to an end, but sending the Buddha to the west, some things are just a piece of cake for him, so he naturally doesn't want to waste time. He was still thinking about starting filming The Dark Knight sooner, so what if Tony, the lead actor, doesn't participate? He'll pull me up a file with all the information on the murder of Howard Stark that S.H.I.E.L.D. has recorded. Point back then, Howard Stark was the founding elder of S.H.I.E.L.D. After his death, it was Pierce's turn to assume the post of director. Therefore, S.H.I.E.L.D. must have investigated his death back then, but under Pierce's control, this matter was suppressed. But there is no doubt that S.H.I.E.L.D. has data records. So when Levi's phone call went directly to Xianjian Bureau, the heir of all S.H.I.E.L.D.'s inheritance, this information was sent over. Among them, it clearly stated that after investigation, it was Abade who provided Howard's travel route, which gave Pierce and others the opportunity to take advantage of it. Not only that, in order to make Tony completely give up on Opedry, Levi directly let Soundwave hack into Opedry's computer and pulled out a lot of information about his corruption of the Stark Group, including various financial accounts, private misappropriation, and so on. Since Tony has never checked or managed this matter, at the moment, when Levi showed it, he found out that Opedry had already obtained nearly $50 billion from the Stark Group in various names and means funds. If it weren't for Tony's achievements in recent years, yes, the Stark Group has been thriving, and with Opedry's game, any company would probably have closed down. Wait, this is it. Tony frowned. The solid evidence in front of him gradually changed his attitude toward Abade, and he gradually accepted that the friends and relatives he had always trusted were actually the ones who murdered his parents. A fact. But these things in front of him seem to be more able to reflect his cruelty and terror. He's funding terrorists. This is a set of picture information from Opedry's computer. Among them, Abade stood on the Gobi. Behind him was a group of people holding advanced weapons from the Stark Group, and in front of them were several corpses. A corpse pierced by bullets, bloody and terrifying. And Abade, he stood among these corpses, laughing wildly there. You don't think this is my P's picture, do you? I didn't expect that guy to have such a hobby of taking pictures as souvenirs. Levi was amazed, but this is not surprising. With Opedry's status, he can't find much fun playing with cars and women. He has been doing this kind of thing for decades, and he has long been tired of it. The only thing that can make him feel exciting is hunting. It's just that other people hunt animals. Many rich people like to hunt. They carry guns on the prairie and kill those running beasts with one shot. And Abade, he likes to kill, asking for flowers. Tony didn't say a word. He just stood up and looked at Bucky. Follow me. Bucky didn't refuse. Facing Steve's hesitation, Bucky got up and followed behind Tony. Soon, the roar of the engine sounded outside the door. Master, Mr. Stark has left. Well, let Soundwave watch them a little bit. However, Hydra is down, and Abade is doomed to have no trouble. The bright mansion fell silent again, but only for a while. Levi was away for several days, and this time he did not bring his own women, who were all attracted by Athena. However, everyone is an adult, and when they are young and vigorous, there is a saying that is better than a new lie. What? When Levi was at home, they were almost every night. When he was there, they hadn't realized the feeling of being alone and sleepless, but they felt especially deeply. So, just when he was eating, Levi felt the gaze of a woman who seemed to want to swallow him. And after seeing Tony and others leave, they let out a long sigh of relief, as if they were liberated. Honey, New York, is it fun? Not bad. Met some new friends. In the living room, the servants had already left, leaving only Levi family and Athena, who hadn't realized the situation. Levi held Natasha Romanoff in his arms, and he also injured it for several days. At this moment, the flames in his eyes seemed to burn Natasha Romanoff completely. Chapter 125 Athena's Heartbeat. The absurdity soon began inside the house. Men are big pigs. Athena outside took a bite point after a sleepless night. At noon the next day, when Levi woke up from the macup pile, he had already received a message from the Red Queen. Tony killed Obliterate. He went home straight away and put on his battle armor and then took Bucky to find a Bad A's trace, but he didn't show up at first, but asked Bucky to interrogate first. He was hiding outside. And when a Bad A explained everything clearly during Bucky's interrogation and torture, Tony broke in and then ended a Bad A's life with the armor he built. Call me Tony, Levi said while getting dressed. Now that a Bad A is dead, the animosity between Tony and Bucky is mostly gone. Definitely, it's better for the two of them not to meet each other as much as possible. This problem is not big. Bucky will be sent by Levi to the Heavenly Sword Bureau later, as his Spokesperson. Their point, Cheyenne Bureau's current power is much worse than that of S.H.I.E.L.D., but its efficiency and overallness are stronger. As for the Cheyenne Bureau's biggest reliance at present, I'm afraid that it is Levi help. Levi made an agreement with Hill. In some respects, Cheyenne will solve most of his troubles. To put it bluntly, Cheyenne will become a shield between him and the secular power, so that he can act less a lot of scruples, and he will provide some help to the Heavenly Sword Bureau. In fact, Hill did not ask him to do this. After all, maintaining stability is a major prerequisite for ensuring his movie box office. However, the Cheyenne Bureau is an intelligence organization after all. Although Levi has confidence in Hill's ability, the Cheyenne Bureau may not be safe from accidents. So, Bucky was sent there, on the one hand, to avoid meeting Tony, and on the other hand, it was equivalent to Levi inserting an eye in the Heavenly Sword game. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 126 Charles is out of control. A spiritual storm sweeping the world. How is your condition? Can this movie be filmed? It can't be filmed. It's still too late for me to change people point. Although the publicity has already been done, if Tony really doesn't want to act, there's nothing he can do about it. It is estimated that the media has also thought about this possibility. After all, Tony spends millions of dollars a minute. What kind of movie should he make when he has nothing to do? Shoot. Why not shoot? Didn't you say you want to use this movie to educate me? I want to see how you educate me. Tony's tone sounded quite normal, but Levi knew he must be feeling uncomfortable, so he said simply, "That's fine. You come over tomorrow. We'll start working straight away. The first scene is going to the snowy mountains. I chose Napa, and I'll take a trip for you to relax by the way." Tony was also taken aback when he heard that. He didn't expect Levi to be so decisive, but he didn't refuse after thinking about it for a while. So, after hanging up on Tony's phone, Levi directly notified the 14 crews of his company in Los Angeles. After all, they are all worth over 100 million people, and they have a lot of liquid funds on hand. Affordable. In the afternoon of the second day, with the three daughters, the goddess Athena, and Thor, who happened to be wandering outside for a long time and rushed back, Levi and his family, plus the crew, plus Tony alone, everyone came together at the airport in Los Angeles, take the special plane chartered by Levi and go straight to Nepal, where Are we going on the plane? The crew are all in the economy class below, and only Levi and others are in the first class above. Tony's trip was mainly for relaxation, so yesterday he came directly without asking where he was going. He didn't think about it until he got on the plane. Now, Kathmandu, we are going to the Himalayas, since it is necessary to make the Batman legendary series unstunning. Levi will try his best to make it as perfect as possible. Although other snow-capped mountains are also available, the highest mountain in the world has more of an extraordinary aura. The roof of the world is no joke. Moreover, Levi also had the idea of using Kathmandu as a filming location. The Shadow Warrior Alliance is the master of the darkness, and Kathmandu was called Kantipa before the 16th century, which means the city of light. The contrast between light and darkness, the prominence of this invisible, can further highlight the mysterious atmosphere of the Shadow Warrior Alliance. Don't worry, when we get there, we will play for a while, collect scenery, take pictures. The crew will also prepare for the shooting scene, communicate with the local government, and obtain permission. Also, you don't know enough about the characters yet. Tony was non-committal. For the role of Bruce Wayne, he has no problem with the playboy side, but the side under the mask. Levi always feels that Tony's role is not enough, because Tony is not a person who likes to hide behind a mask. It can be seen from the fact that he declared himself to be Iron Man with great fanfare, and in the face of terrorist attacks, he even declared his home address to declare war on them. Batman believes that things in the dark must be resolved in the dark, definitely, and finally in the light. So he puts on the battle suit, goes into the dark, becomes Batman, solve those evils with the unknown side. And if it was Tony doing it, he would definitely not choose this way, which would lead to a conflict between him and the character's psychological state. Fortunately, the first film, The Mystery of Heroes and Shadows, did not have many descriptions of scenes in the dark, but instead focused on its better to portray Bruce Wayne's transition from light to dark. Otherwise Levi is really going to change. Boom. The plane in the steady flight suddenly shook and made a terrifying sound. Levi, who was chatting with Tony, froze for a moment, then suddenly turned his head and looked around. Athena was also acting like him. Just now, he seemed to feel a strong spiritual force rushing through the void. What happened? Before Levi finished speaking, suddenly, the strong sense of weightlessness caused the whole plane to start a sharp drop. But what shocked Levi was not this, but the spiritual power that was as majestic as the sea filled the whole world in an instant, just like a drill drilled into his mind. Shit, Charles. Levi roared. There is only one person who can make such a movement, the most powerful brain in the world, the king of mutants, Charles Xavier. The golden light on Levi's body was shining, and he fixed his figure, only to see that opposite him, Tony had already lost consciousness and was clutching his head and howling. Levi looked around. Everyone in the first class cabin, except Tony, did not have such a situation, but Natasha Romanoff and Sky frowned. Although they also used the T-virus strengthening serum, their mental strength was not high. Although it can resist this kind of violent mental power invasion, it is a bit difficult. And they are still like this, let alone the crew in the economy class below, and the driver in the cab. Levi doesn't even need to look to know that the current time and space of the plane must be caused by the flight crew losing consciousness. Athena, isolate the plane. Levi looked at Athena, who was flying in the air with a light body like a fairy, in stark contrast to Thor, who could only hold a chair over there. In the name of Athena. With a light shout, the brilliance of Athena's body flashed, and then, the golden shield appeared in her hand, and then turned into an invisible barrier, wrapping the entire plane in it, and lifting it up to restore stability. Chapter 127, Desperate X-Men, Where is the Hope? One more. Tony landed on his seat, and he was breathing heavily with his mouth open, begging for the mental intrusion, as if he had just finished a 10,000-meter run. But it seemed to be the case. He was covered in sweat. It was the extreme pain. The pain that would be felt after the brain was invaded. You too. Look at them. I'm leaving. Levi, where are you going? Natasha Romanoff looked tired. With her little mental strength, it was really difficult to resist Charles' mental invasion. But compared to Tony, her condition was much better. If nothing else happened, if the situation continued for at most 10 minutes, Tony's brain would explode, as if a bomb had been stuffed into it. That was the end after his own spiritual power was taken over by Charles and he went berserk. This is also the reason why Charles Xavier has almost the right to speak of a country. He alone is equivalent to the nuclear arsenal of a superpower. It can wipe out all human beings in the world. I'm going to find out the root of the problem. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Levi channeled a bit of power in the past, and Natasha Romanoff and Sky recovered a little energy. Although the mental exhaustion could not be made up for a while, their complexions were all rosy. You don't worry, I will watch here. Thor, who had regained his seat, was holding a hammer, and his casual clothes had been replaced by his gleaming silver armor and red cape. Obviously, although the mental attack was not that effective against him, he was still somewhat apprehensive about the situation just now. Levi looked at Athena again, who nodded at him, and then Levi walked to the hatch, and after the hatch opened, Levi jumped out, turned into light, and disappeared into the sky. The sonic boom sounded in the sky above 10,000 meters. Levi kept pushing his speed, and the feeling of being filled with Charles' spiritual power all over the sky returned once he left Athena's protective barrier. Levi squinted his eyes, then sped towards the west, the direction he was waiting for someone to come. This is a global catastrophe. There is no doubt that Charles Xavier's brain has launched an attack on all mankind. Whatever the reason, Levi must stop him. He didn't want to face a dead Earth in 10 minutes, maybe only tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people left there. The source of mental fluctuations vertical bar. The speed of 250 kilometers per second can't be released directly in the atmosphere. It will ignite the air, but that's the case. After a minute, Levi also returned to the United States, a place called Decale Lake. Down there, brainwave machine. As soon as Levi's voice fell, the whole person disappeared. His figure was as fast as a gust of wind, because he understood that this is not the time to procrastinate. Every second of procrastination, the possibility of the world's destruction is higher. If that is the case, there will be no one watches his moves anymore. With a bang, the gate of a secret military base built under the dam was directly knocked open by Levi. Countless rays of light follow every possible passage to find out the path that he can walk, and then he uses his own way to take the shortest shortcut to rush to his own land. Quick, let's find a way to stop the professor. In front of a gate blocked by countless metal objects, Cyclops, Scott, Phoenix and others gathered there, staring eagerly in front of them. Kurt, can you take us back in time? Teleport to the room behind this wall. Storm Ororo seemed to have remembered something, and turned his head to look at a strange looking mutant who came with him and others. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on him. Blue skin, covered with strange patterns, fangs, sharp claws, 4 fingers, plus that thick and long tail. This is the whole picture of him. And this mutant named Kurt Warner shook his head. I can't do it, guys. I can only teleport as far as I can see. And this wall, it's so thick, I can't even imagine what's behind it. We might get stuck in it. Nightcrawler's answer shattered the hope that everyone had once again ignited. Looking at a soldier who was neighing and howling in the corner, for some reason, everyone suddenly felt a sense of sadness in their hearts. After all human beings are dead, does this world really belong to mutant? Damn Magneto order. Scott scolded angrily. This matter is definitely Magneto's masterpiece, and only he would do something frenzied to destroy, get Lizao, all human beings. Moreover, if he hadn't blocked the access to the brainwave machine, why should they be melancholy here? God, whoever will save us, whoever it is, come and save this world. Scott raised his head and roared angrily. They are all mutants with super ability. However, in the face of this situation, they can't have ability, and they can't do anything. They have nothing but abilities, but facing this secret room buried deep in the ground, and covered with at least 40 meters thick concrete, the only way to enter is sealed by the thick metal that is strong enough to withstand nuclear explosions. Who else can save them? Who else can save mankind? Chapter 128 Ancient One's attention. The sun is hot. In the small town below Ekali Lake, several strangely dressed and strange looking people were walking on the street. The one who took the lead was a man wearing a battlesuit, a helmet, and a big cape behind his back. The man's hair is grey, but he doesn't look old. Mutant has a longer lifespan and youth than ordinary humans. Therefore, even though this man is over 70, he actually looks like he is only in his 40s. Magneto, will they all die? Among the crowd, a small boy asked. He looked very normal, out of tune with this group of people, and he was wearing ordinary clothes, without any battlesuit, let alone any special appearance characteristics. For example, there is a woman with a graceful figure beside him. Her body is indigo blue, densely covered with mysterious patterns, and her eyes are shining green, like an elf in the wild. Just call me Eric. But yes, they will all die in 840, and they will all become sacrifices of the new era. From then on, it will be the era of mutants. Magneto held his hands high, and the surrounding houses trembled with his business. Definitely, the most frightening thing is that around them, on the streets, in houses, and in shopping malls, there are countless human beings holding their heads and howling in pain. If you look at it from another perspective, you will find that waves of spiritual power descended from the void, inserting into the brains of all human beings like drill bits. And this is Magneto's masterpiece, his masterpiece of destroying mankind. On the snow-capped mountain, in a certain temple less than 10,000 meters away from the plane of Tony and others, a man looked at a woman in a Chinese robe with an elegant face, all her hair gone. Magician, don't we stop this? The spiritual power permeating the world may be fatal to ordinary humans, but to them, this is not a problem, because what they study here is the mystery of the soul and the clever use of the spirit. Imodu magician, someone is handling this matter, you don't have to worry, the future is not going to the point where you can't control it. The woman said slowly, with a smile as bright as an ear on her face. However, who is this god who suddenly appeared? Ancient One was puzzled. She had seen countless futures, and she could naturally look up the past at will. However, she couldn't find out how that person appeared in this world. Without raising the divine fire, without opening the kingdom of God, it was as if suddenly, there was an extra god in the sky, and it was a rising god like the rising sun. When Levi and Athena exploded their divine power not far from her dojo, she sensed everything clearly, and she even took a look from a distance point. She is familiar with Athena, including Thor, but only Levi. His power breath is very strange. It seems to have the breath of Apollo, but it is far from Apollo. In comparison, it is closer to La God. Forget it. Anyway, he will come over when the time comes, and just ask again, through the future. Ancient One has seen Levi and her meeting. What's going on? Let's talk about it at that time. At the brainwave machine, when Magneto left BE, he blocked the entire passage with countless reinforced concrete, which was the only passage. Everyone in the X-Men looked at the long corridor in front of them, and fell into despair. Their abilities can't do anything about it. Even Cyclops' laser can split these blockages, but he doesn't know when he digs through. Who will help us? Storm murmured, as if responding to him. Suddenly, a gust of wind rushed into this slightly crowded passage, and then, a familiar figure appeared here. Mr. Levi. Storm and the others stared blankly at Levi, who suddenly appeared. It was the first time they saw Levi displaying such extraordinary power. The X-Men who were present had been to Levi home, and some people had gone to the Marvel Entertainment Company for training some time ago, to learn acting and various talents. They were no strangers to Levi, but it was the first time for them to see Levi in this posture point. But Levi ignored them. He didn't have time to greet them now. He just looked at the long corridor in front of him, the life channel blocked by Magneto. Get out of the way, and get out of here. Levi snapped. If he wanted to open this portal as soon as possible, then he had to use some special means. Although everyone was puzzled, they didn't know what to do for a while, so they could only evacuate outside according to Levi instructions. Charles, I hope you can hold on for a while longer. The situation here is completely different from that in the movie. In the movie, Magneto was not so frantic that he blocked the passage with the transported reinforced concrete, so that it gave the X-Men a chance to come back. But the reality is often more cruel. Magneto is not a fool. On the contrary, he has a high IQ, and can become a master of electromagnetic mechanics through self-study. However, no matter how he tried his best, he probably didn't expect a person like Levi to appear. The sun is scorching. I seldom use this trick. Massive golden brilliance appeared in Levi's hands, and in an instant, an astonishing heat burst out, and the entire passage was like entering a sauna room. The air was unexpectedly scorching hot, and more importantly, the heat was still rising constantly. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.